Hello and welcome back to the Football Fellowship, where today we're going to be chucking some predictions your way, shouting out the best player, best young player, top goal scorer, some teams who may surprise a few, and some teams who may let some down as well.
Yes, starting off with the winners, and no surprise if you've seen our Euro 2024 predictions, I've gone for France again just because I think they have so much quality in their side. Remember the last World Cup where they didn't have Kante or Pogba in midfield and they just stepped up with Tuchel and Rabiot and still got the way all the way to the final and arguably probably should have won it if it wasn't for the magic little man Lionel Messi. So, no surprise, I've gone for France, one of the tournament favourites. Toby, who have you gone for?
Yeah, I think that is a pretty good shout. I don't think many will be disagreeing with on that one. They are just an exceptional side. But I have gone for England. I do think it is going to come home this summer. Just looking at that attacking unit that we have, out of the top 20 players for goals plus assists in Europe, we've got 6. No other side that's qualified for the Euros has got more than 1 on that list. We have just some of the names in that list, the awards that they've won: Premier League Player of the Year, La Liga Player of the Year, Bundesliga top scorer, just so many good players. And I think that attack, combined alongside my ridiculous, weird football patriotism, just can ignore any defensive issues, ignore any issues about the manager, and just believe that England are going to win it. And I think we could do it.
Yeah, do you know what? I mean, one of the favourites. I mean, we've picked out 2 of the favourites there. I don't think either of them are too bad a shout. The only reason I've gone for France is because I think if they were to pick up an injury, I just think they've got so many quality options still to go. But if you move on then to dark horses, and when I was looking at the BBC website, looking at the odds of a side winning, I couldn't believe Croatia were only 2%, and I just thought to myself, that is absolutely ludicrous. For a side who still have lots of quality players, they're probably going to have Livakovic in goal, they've got players of quality like Souza, Vida, Stanisic, Sutolo and Kvaradil at the back. They've got that amazing midfield of Modric, Brozovic and Kovacic, who are still arguably in their prime, maybe Modric is towards the tail end. And yes, their attack isn't the most exciting and hasn't got much flair, but I think they've got players who could do a very solid job in like the Kramaric, Vlasic, Perisic. And I think considering how far they got in recent tournaments, the fact that they're only 2%, for me, Croatia had to be my dark horses, despite the fact that they've got a really hard group along with the likes of Italy, Spain and Albania.
Yeah, I think Croatia is another one of those teams. They just seem to do so well and have performed amazingly over the last few tournaments. Despite the country's size and their population, they really do outperform those statistics and are able to turn up. So we could see it again. But for my dark horses, I've gone for one who are a pretty big footballing nation, normally one of the big names on there. But I just think this time around, a lot of people are ruling them out, and that is the Netherlands. I think a team who, again, over the last few tournaments, give or take, have performed really well. And again, I think this tournament, they've got a really good, strong side. Looking at Gertrude, Van der Ven, De Ligt, Depay, who always turns up in tournaments, and maybe not the best in club football, but for international, he is very good. Frimpong, Malen, Van Dijk, Xavi Simons as well. Just so many good names there. And I don't think they're going to be going super far, but I think if they get a good run, they could potentially get to the Final Four. I could see it. And if you think back to that last World Cup, they were only knocked out by the holders on penalties. So keep an eye on the Netherlands and don't rule them out because they've got that quality.
It's so funny with the Netherlands because people either think they're going to do really well or not at all. And that's epitomized right here because I've got the Netherlands to flop. They are my flop of the tournament. I could have gone for a player, I couldn't have gone for a manager, but I decided to go for a team, and the Netherlands for me. Yes, I understand your points about how they are really good in some areas, but I just think every time we get to a tournament, especially in recent years, they've just failed to impress. And I think quite often the defence has let them down, despite the fact that it is arguably one of their stronger sides. And I think the goalkeeping area is such a little bit of an issue for me in terms of who they're going to have in between the sticks. It might be Bart for Brungen or Brighton, which doesn't fill me with a whole lot of confidence. And I just think their forwards are, yes, good quality, but I don't think anyone is particularly world class. I think Depay had his time at a very short period of time. I think Marlon and everyone else, they're all good, but no one's exceptional screaming at me as someone who could really light up a tournament. Not the way that I think other players probably will. So I understand what you're saying about them being dark horses, but I've gone the opposite side, and for me, I think they're going to be the flop of the tournament.
Yeah, like you said, it honestly could go either way, but there are those question marks about, I think, Ronald Koeman as manager, which is a big one as well. I just think they can finish second in their group. I think they've got a good, well-rounded squad, even if there aren't too many players who stand out who could do it. But I also can, in a strange way, see potentially they could finish third or fourth and not even qualify to go through. You never know with the Netherlands sometimes. In terms of flop teams, I have also gone for your dark horse as well. I've gone for a combination of teams here who I think are in really similar situations. One of them being Croatia, who you said is dark horses, and the other being Switzerland. I think both teams are in quite a similar position at the moment. They both have a bit of an ageing side, average age of around 30, 31 at times, I think, if they play their strongest 11. Both sides who have performed well in recent tournaments and are always sort of a stalwart and someone who get out the groups, get sometimes through to quarterfinals, semi-finals, with Croatia even a World Cup final. I just think it's going to come to an end for Croatia, and I think this is going to be the tournament. I think those key players for them, Modric, Brozovic, who else have they got in there? Kramaric, Perisic, all of these key players who have been in the tournaments, I just think are getting on a bit too much. And I think with the group they have with Spain and Italy, I think they'll finish third, maybe get through to the round of 16, but come up against a top side who did top their group. And the same for Switzerland. They could finish third in their group, I think, and maybe not get through or get knocked out in the round of 16. So for me, two top European sides, and I think both won't get past the round of 16 is my prediction.
Wow, yeah, that is bold. I mean, I don't hate the Croatia shout for flop. I just think that they've done it. It just you want to think to yourself, okay, fine, this is the tournament that they're not going to do it, and then they do it every time. And so I just, for some reason, the same way I have Netherlands as flop because they've continuously proved me right for the wrong reasons. Croatia constantly proved me wrong for the right reasons. So I think, yeah, I understand why you've done it, but I can't see it personally. But that would be an interesting one to see. Surprise team of the tournament up next. And the way I did my surprise team was one that I think probably won't win it because I think that's probably dark horse territory, but a surprise team which I think could go further than a lot of people expect. And this is actually not that much of a surprise team because I think a lot of people have a lot of high expectations of Ralf Rangnick's Austria side. And yes, I've only watched a couple of their games, especially the more recent ones, but I think there is something very exciting about them and the way that Rangnick has been getting them playing. I think in the warm-up games, they beat Serbia 2-1 and drew 1-1 with Switzerland. Two very good results. They were second in the group of qualifying with Belgium, Sweden, Azerbaijan and Estonia. And in the recent March internationals, they beat Turkey 6-1 and they beat Germany 2-0 in November. So I think there's a lot of promising signs for Austria, a side who not only are getting the results, but are playing some really attractive football, actually. And I think Austria could cause a little bit of an upset. They might not go all the way. I'd be probably surprised if they get to the semi-final stage, but I think they've got an outside chance of making the quarterfinals and really, knocking out a big team.
Yeah, that's a really good shout, Austria, and I think they're almost in the opposite position than they have been for a few tournaments as of recent. I think in the last few we've seen their team sheet and that they have some really good players and they should be doing better, but they play quite boring football and haven't done too well. Whereas I think now they are much more underdogs and they are playing really, really exciting, really high pressing football that you normally don't see at international level. And I think that's a great shout that they could be a team who surprise a few, get out of that group and maybe cause an upset in that round of 16 will be a really good achievement for Austria. My surprise team, there's a couple names floating around in there that I could have gone for. Looking at maybe Hungary, I think, in their group. Turkey as well, another one who we looked at the last Euros who really disappointed as maybe an underdog and a surprise team. But I've actually gone for one of the big boys of my surprise team, and that is Italy. I think a lot of people are writing off Italy far, far too easily. They are the holders of the tournament. They are a really, really good side, and I think a lot of people are looking at their team and maybe not recognising too many of the names compared to their old squad. There's obviously no Chiellini anymore, no Bonucci, no Immobile, a few names missing out on that, and a few youngsters who have come in from the Serie A to replace them. But I still think they are a very, very strong side and managed by Spalletti, who did win Napoli the Serie A, which was an incredible achievement in its own right. I think they have enough to still get far, still get into that final eight of the tournament at least. They do have that tough group, but I think they have enough, and I think just based on the last Euros and what they have, I still think they've got enough to go through, and I think people are writing them off a little bit too easily.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout, but it just seems like with Italy, it's either they go all the way and win it, or they don't even qualify for it. So it feels very chalk and cheese with them, and it's all or nothing. And yeah, that's actually not a bad shout. Actually, I don't hate it at all. I think whoever finishes third in that group, in Group B, I think will still fancy themselves to get out of that round of 16. So I don't hate that Italy shout, if I'm being honest. Moving on then to top goal scorers. I have gone for a familiar name, a name who I've actually thought was going to be top goal scorer in previous tournaments and has let me down. But this time, Romelu Lukaku is going to step up. Got Slovakia, Romania, and Ukraine in the group. I think there are some goals to be had, and I don't necessarily think Belgium will go all the way, but I think that group stage will really help pad his goals and the stats, and he might pick up one or two more in the knockouts. But I think for me, yeah, I think the big Belgians got it in this time. Who have you gone for?
I've gone for exactly the same, mate. A nice little
Nice.
agreement there. Yeah, I've gone for Lukaku as well. When I was looking into this, the main thing that I had in my mind is that the Golden Boot can normally be won in the group stage alone. I was looking for teams that had an easy group with a really clinical striker who you know is going to be starting almost all of those games. And there was a few names. It was Cristiano Ronaldo potentially for Portugal. He's got quite an easy group. Harry Kane for England, not a bad group. But Lukaku, I think, does have that easiest group. 14 goals in 8 games in qualifying, including games against Austria and Sweden, two pretty decent sides. It wasn't a super easy group for Belgium. 85 goals in 115 games for Belgium, 4 goals in 5 in his last Euros, and he was a great little asset for me in the Euro Fantasy last time round. So yeah, I think he's just going to get 4, maybe 5 goals in that group stage. That'll be enough to get the Golden Boot, and even if Belgium don't progress too far, I think he'll be able to get it done and get that Golden Boot.
Yeah, you probably only need 6 goals to make sure you get the Golden Boot in the tournament. And also, not only that, he's going to be playing for his future as well. Chelsea are looking like they want to sell him and they don't want to loan him out again. So he needs to do well to really get some suitors. And I think he will do that. And we've both got him as a top goal scorer. Next up is best player. And I was trying to think to myself, okay, best player typically goes to a player from the winning team. So if I've got France winning, then I think it has to be Kylian Mbappe, who is going to be the best player for me. Now, formerly of PSG, now of Real Madrid, I just think it'll be written in the stars if France were to go on and win it, and then he would have the accolade of being best player at the Euros as a Real Madrid player. And also, he's just quality, and we know he's going to get at least 3 to 4 goals anyway. And if he plays really well as well, then you can definitely see, potentially some of the voting being a little bit more biased towards France and him.
Yeah, that's a really good shout, and I think what it could come down to for me, whoever wins and gets best player, I think is a potential semi-final battle of England and France. If they both win those groups, both meet in the semi-final, I think whoever wins that wins the tournament, and their respective stars wins the best player award. And that's why for me, I think England are going to win it, and I think Jude Bellingham is going to get player of the tournament, only 20 years old. I just think after the season he has had, he's on the track for the Ballon d'Or. I think he's won the league, he's won the Champions League, he has, what else is even on the La Liga Player of the Year. First season at Madrid, he's just been absolutely exceptional, one of the best players in the world at such a young age, and I think he'll be able to carry England all the way through to get the title and then get the best player accolade for himself as well.
Yeah, phenomenal achievement just for a 20-year-old. Yeah, if he won the Euros and he got best player, he would 100% win the Ballon d'Or. That is not even a question. I do want to say though, I think best player, we probably haven't given enough love to Portugal in this little prediction, and I think there is a good chance, and maybe an outside chance, so that Bruno Fernandes has a very good tournament, and if Portugal were to go far, I could definitely see him getting it. He has picked up a few goals in the warm-up games, and I think he's low-key one to keep an eye on. But yeah, moving on then finally to our last category, which is best under 21 player. I've gone for the teenager, Lamine Yamal, the 16-year-old who is actually turning 17 on the 13th of July. So 3 days away from the time of recording, 2 days away by the time you guys will see this. And I think to myself, yeah, he is a absolute sensation, and I'm so looking forward to seeing him in the flesh, because not in the flesh actually, sorry, looking forward to seeing him up close. I wish I was going to German, I'm not quite, because I think he's super talented the way he's been playing in that Barcelona side, and I think for Spain as well, he's got the capabilities to really shine him, maybe even be the best player.
Yeah, that is a fantastic shout, and I think if Spain get to at least the quarterfinals, I know these normally awards best player, best young player, they do end up going to someone who's at least in the final four. Normally it is in the final, or the winners really does make a big difference in deciding it. But I think given Yamal's age, how young he is, and how he still stands out in that Spain side who have a really strong squad, he's still one of their best players. I think if they get to the quarterfinals at least, he will definitely be in the running for that. For me, Jude Bellingham could win both. I don't think he will, though. I think it would be too much to give him both. He is eligible for the Young Player of the Year, but I think if England win it, he'll get Best Player, and I think they'll give Young Player potentially to the other finalist or one of the other teams in the top four. And I think for me, two really, really strong shouts for that and who I would go for, I honestly can't pick between them, would be Jamal Musiala and Florian Wirtz. Two players who have had really strong seasons again. Wirtz especially winning Bundesliga Player of the Year, and the way that Germany are currently setting up where those two are able to play sort of free inside forward roles in behind the striker really, really plays to their advantages, and we've seen some really good results for Germany recently. As hosts as well, I think that's going to be a big thing for them, and I think I just can't pick them apart because they're both exceptional talents. So for me, one of the two German boys.
I tell you what, if Germany were to win the Euros and Florian Wirtz was to play a big part, only if Leverkusen won the Europa League final, then he could have been with the shout for winning the Ballon d'Or as well. He could have actually had a great chance of it. But yeah, I don't disagree with those shouts as well. I mean, suppose one of your teams, Netherlands, you fancy them to do quite well. Maybe Xavi Simons could actually end up finding himself in that kind of running as well. I think there's a lot of very talented young players, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them, all of them, at the tournament. Just a question though, Toby, have you got your England shirt on at the moment?
I haven't, not yet, mate. I'm waiting for that first game and it will be on, don't you worry.
No, just wondering with all the predictions you've been making about England. But yeah, there we have it. Those were our predictions for some of the other things that we think are going to happen in the tournament. Winners, dark horses, surprise team, top goal scorer, best player, best under 21 players, and our flops as well. Let us know in the comments below. What do you think? Do you agree with us on our predictions? Do you disagree with us? And tell us what you would have gone for as well. Thank you everyone for watching, and make sure to join us in the next one.